Okay, so we're talking about Adam, and in order to get some equilibrium on the periodic table of history we need to know that there is a time axis that's over here. It goes from 4000 BC to 2000 AD, or it covers a span of about 6,000 years. It's also instructive to point out that when we're traveling along the x-axis, we see Europe, Middle East, Asia, North America over here. And that is to say that there is an axis of the equator, goes left to right. All right, so Iceland is over here, and then you have Western Europe, and then going into Greece is here. Israel is right here. It has the history that connects into the biblical history. And then India is in purple, China in yellow, and then we get into the United States is over here. So we have to understand that and able to read this graph. And what we're particularly interested in is Adam. So let's zoom up to Israel just a little bit. Here's Israel. Here's this blue line that goes way back. Remember, they became a country in 1948. So if we zoom back out, we can see Israel there, and then we can get up here to where Adam is. So we have modern history, modern Israel. Then we have the time of Jesus, if you go back. The time of the fall of Jerusalem, time of David, the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob with the 12 sons, and then Shem, Ham, Japheth, time of the flood, and then Adam. And Adam is what we're most concerned with. So let's look at the life bar of Adam. It's right here. I can change the color to, let's say, yellow so we can see it a little bit better. And this is when Adam was created, and let's have a smaller arrow, and this is when Adam died. So this is the lifespan of Adam on the scale of history. So he lived for 930 years, and that's put on a mathematical Bible time scale, and then not correcting for if there was a 360-day year or anything like that. It's just looking at the numbers in the Bible and then marking those down. So we get something like 4116 BC is the date where, if you just don't do any compensating and look at the dates in the Bible, connect the Bible dates to modern history, is the number that I've come up with. That could be right, might not be right. Maybe it's 4050 or something, but it's probably very close. And though I don't know if we can get exact dates because we don't have the months or anything like that, so this has given us the big picture here, and that's what I like. We can get some details, and we can also get the big picture. So there's Adam. He is the first generation with completely pure genetics designed specifically and completely by God. And so what a man he must have been, with no genetic degradation. He was not a copy of a copy of a copy. He was created specially from God. So he must have had an amazing memory, been an amazing person. Probably all the flaws that we see in ourselves were not present in him. Or you see some people that are highly skilled in one area and not in another. Adam was probably skilled in all areas. So I would like a replay on that after I die, for sure, just to see what Adam is and the nature of Adam. But it's really fun to see the connection between biblical history and modern history in this way. It's interesting to look at this huge time gap and all of his sons. I mean, when we go down here to who was still alive when Adam was old and just about to die, we come up with Lamech. So Lamech was born and lived for some time before Adam died over here. Lamech was the father of Noah. Okay, we'll try to get over here. Okay, Lamech was the father of Noah, and so Lamech would have had firsthand information to pass on to Noah. And Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth are the four male figures that survived pre-flood and then post-flood. So that's the connection between any evidence that we have before the flood and then after the flood. Noah, his family, the wives. So this is quite instructive to see the different people that we see appear over here. And if you look down into the attributes of Cain, let's say, we look right in this region. Seth was born 130 years after Adam was created. And so then Cain and Abel would have been born right in this region. And so we can see that Adam saw the line that wanted to follow after God go one direction, the line that wanted to follow after selfishness go another direction. So he saw the murder and people mocking God with regard to marriage and killing each other, and there was violence in the land and all that. They built cities instead of spreading out and subduing the earth. They said, hey, let's hang out as thickly and populously as we can. And then, of course, there's a proverb that says, cursed is the man who builds his house next to his neighbor. And so you see the first cities being built right here. According to the Sumerian kings list, the first city is Eridu, and it was a city pre-flood in Samaria, because the Bible isn't the only flood legend. There's over 300 surviving flood legends, some talking about the Great Flood and some talking about smaller floods that happened after the Great Flood. Well, the Sumerian kings list talks about the Great Flood according to the Sumerians, and they talk about their first city, Eridu, which would be right along the lines of when Cain's descendants built or Cain built the first city and named it after his descendants. Adam would have seen a lot of things right here in this region, and I find that very instructive and hope that all this information can help us understand the Bible. The flood happened right over here, and so all of Cain's descendants would have died right in this region. Resetting history and putting a genetic bottleneck right here. And scientists speculate that they can see a genetic bottleneck. They put it way far back, but if we don't pay attention to the numbers that they put onto it, we can see historically that there is a reason for a genetic bottleneck, and that's because all the genetic diversity that would have come from Adam would have only been sustained through one generation, and then Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So who was Adam? According to the Hebrew record, Adam was the first man. God created Adam on day 6 and gave him dominion over the earth. God gave man dominion over fish, fowl, cattle, and creeping things. So the herb-bearing tree and tree-yielding seeds were given for food. And remember, animals were not given as food until after the flood in Genesis 9. And God brought the animals before Adam to see what Adam would name them, and what Adam named them became the authorized name. A whole lot happened in Adam's lifetime. The 7-day week was created. Resting on the 7th day was established. God took one of Adam's ribs and created Eve, the first woman. The first wedding union was pronounced. We see that Eve knew the commandment of God. See Genesis 3. We read about the first temptation, the first lie from the serpent, the deception of Eve and Adam, who was with her, we read of the first cover-up, the first lie to God, the first blame game, the first judgment, the first set of curses, the first increase in work responsibility. Cain, the first child, was born. And to this day, we still use the expression, looks like you're raising Cain, because we have the first murder. And Adam went on to witness the bloodline of Cain exalting murder, building the first city, corrupting marriage, inventing musical instruments, and inventing metalwork using brass and iron. Genesis is appropriately named. Now, the conditions of the earth were different than we have now. So the present is not the key to the past. So we learn from the text that a mist went up from the earth and watered the face of the ground. It did not rain at that time. There were no rainbows. God planted the Garden of Eden, including the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I can only hope that after I die, I will get to see the rerun of this situation. Josephus goes on to state Adam had technology such as astronomy due to his long lifespan. And Josephus also cites many ancient books that showed other cultures having long lifespans. A lifespan such as Adam living 930 years is a problem for evolutionists, but not for creationists. The evolutionary worldview guesses that the universe is moving from simple to more complex. However, the creationist worldview is that the universe is moving from complex to simple. So evolutionists have craftily used the school system to teach their guesses as if they are fact. And now it is hard to find one person in 1,000 that can tell the difference between their own guesses and their own facts. So there comes a time when a person must guess in one direction or the other. And I particularly like to know when a guess is invoked. So evolutionists hide the fact that they use guesses all the time. They even use another word called an assumption to confuse people. They assume or guess data into their equations and then proclaim that everyone must go along with their equation conclusions. Since the word assumption has more letters than the word guess, evolutionists prefer it. It puffs them up like leaven puffs up a small amount of bread into an air bubble-filled loaf of bread. See, Jesus said, "Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees," Matthew 16. Okay, concerning accuracy of evolutionists, on May 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens in Washington State, USA, erupted and piled debris over the Spirit Lake River drainage system, such that the snow melt could not get out of the Toutle Valley. Now, on March 19, 1982, an eruption melted a snowpack and created a mud flow that lasted 9 hours. The Little Grand Canyon of the Toutle was created and named. This canyon is 1/40th the size of the Grand Canyon, and all this information is known because we photographed and watched it and measured it. Pictures have been taken of this event, making the event historical, and measurements have been taken of it, making it scientific. In 1996, a new lava dome started emerging on the mountain, so evolutionists took samples and dated it. Of 5 samples, they obtained 350,000 years, 340,000 years, 900,000 years, 1.7 million years, and 2.8 million years old. So those numbers are much different than 14 to 16 years. So anyone that looks on this can conclude accuracy cannot be proven. Only repeatability can be proven if we use the same guesses and the same methods. The extraordinary problem is evolution has overstepped its own boundaries and entered into the realm of history. Now, many aspects of history are outside the bounds of empirical science. So evolutionists are making guesses so they can pretend to lay claim on information that is outside their realm. They are guided by the love of grant money and respect from others. And Paul said in 1 Timothy, "The love of money is the root of all evil," and Deuteronomy 16:19 states, "Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift," bribe. For a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous. So no matter what, we must guess to form conclusions about the past. We weren't there. And I would rather guess using a book spanning wisdom over 4,000 years that has been scrutinized by 7 billion people, rather than guess using some papers written by modern-day atheists, peer-reviewed by a couple atheists, and published in an atheist outlet. See, my goal for myself, family, country, and everyone in the world is life, and life more abundantly. The evolutionists only have death and death more abundantly to cite. So between the two choices, I choose life, and I choose a life of learning and emulating the ways of love from the only true example of love ever seen in this world, Jesus Christ. Adam is the starting point of the journey to God's love story for humanity. So I just find all of this information instructive and hope it helps you, and I hope your life can be enhanced. So I pray that you would choose life, and I would pray that you would make this world the best world that it can be. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.